name is Jit, and I have a blog called Viva Veritas where I share my sewing projects and wedding dresses and all the process of making crafty stuff. Today I wanted to show you the coat that I'm making. I'm doing BurdaStyle style 116. The last time I made a coat was like 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago. It was 2014. I made a pink coat based on the coat pattern that I bought from BurdaStyle. I will link that down below. I've worn it for 3 straight years and the lining just kind of fell apart. I love the coat, but I thought maybe it's a good time to create something new. Since I bike everywhere, I'm on the bike all the time. I live in Tokyo. I need to be warm. I needed a long coat that protects me from all the wind, and that's why I chose coat 116 because it goes down to calf. It's a wraparound coat, and it comes with this what do you call it? Like the belt and then belt carrier, and you just tie it waist. It's pretty simple. There's no button or welt pocket. It's just patch pocket. Doesn't even have a vent in the back, so I'm hoping to sew it up in a couple days. Debating between camel and gray, and I found a camel fabric in Nippori, a place called Arai. And the guy even gave me a sample. It's really nice. I think it's like alpaca. No, it's not alpaca. It's like all natural fabric, 100%. He said like some nice high-end brand used it and then like kind of gave him the fabric on discount. Well, last time I made a coat in pink, and that was great. And I felt like, you know, I was the only one wearing the bright color and like, you know, gloomy winter, and I liked it. But because this coat style is very long and coat length goes down below the knees, I thought it would be a little bit too overwhelming to wear bright color. I kind of wanted a mustard like this, but decided against it. Ended up going with this light gray, which I found in Tomato. Nippori Tomato is somewhere that I go all the time for the fabric. The reason why I bought this one, there's 2 reasons. One is I already made a camel coat prior to making the pink coat in 2014, and I gave it away, but I know what it looks like on me, the camel, so I wanted to try something new. The other reason was that this fabric was 1/3 of the price of this camel fabric. This was 3,500 yen, so it's about $30 US dollars. This one was only 1,000 yen per meter. I needed 3.5 meters, so I just ended up going with it because if I fail, you know, like it's $40, it's not a big deal. Whereas if I go with the camel, you know, I would end up spending about $100. So the fabric content of this wool is wool, viscose, and nylon. So only probably like 35% of the natural fiber, and then the rest of it is just kind of synthetic. But it feels really nice, and it's like medium weight, not too thick. The guy recommended that I go with the medium weight wool as opposed to heavy wool like I use for the pink coat because of the length. It will be very heavy to wear it around, and I kind of agree with it. So I went with this. Also picked up lining. This is kind of like a bluish gray that matches with the coat. So here are all the pattern pieces that I cut out from the wool. I haven't done the lining and the interfacing yet. What we need to be careful when sewing the BurdaStyle coat 116 is that you don't need all the pattern pieces. You need to skip. You only need 1 through 6. No, sorry, 1 through 7 and 14 and 15. So the rest of the pieces you can just chuck it. That's for the other style of coats. You also have to draft your own belt, which is just like a long rectangular fabric, and then belt carrier. So it says on back pieces stitch center seam. Press seam allowances open. So it says back pieces, but it doesn't tell you the number, and I'm assuming it's about piece number 3 is this back. So I'm going to sew that right now. So using 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, so it's all the way straight. I'm not even going to bother to finish the seam allowances because I don't think it's going to fray. And I'm going to line it, pressing the seam allowances open. I'm going to press the hem right now so I don't have to do it later. I use this Handmade stitch ruler. So the seam allowance is 4 centimeters. So fold it up like this and press. You know, as the pieces gets bigger with front piece connected to back piece, I think it gets harder to press the hem. So that's why I do it at this point. And if I need an adjustment later, I'll just do it then. It says stitch back yoke to back, stitch shoulder seams. So now I take the piece number 4, this is back yoke, and then stitch this onto the back that I just sewed right here. So what I did when I was cutting up the yoke, piece number 4, is to add this little notch in the center of the back yoke piece, both back and bottom and front. So when I have to match the pieces, it's easier. So this bottom, the notch in the bottom should meet the seam that we just sew in the back. Sewing back yoke to back, sometimes I find it easier to start from the center. So I just sew from the center where I notched all the way down to the side, and then I'll flip it and do the same. This way the center always match. You don't have to, you know, pin or adjust. I don't like the bulk discreet, so I clip it. I clip it on the left side, and now I'm going to clip it right here too. So here is when things get really confusing. It says stitch shoulder seam, seam number 2. Okay, so seam number 2 is right here, the back yoke. So you assume this is going to be connected to the front piece, which is number 1, but nowhere in this pattern piece says number 2. I always have a problem with this, problem like this with the BurdaStyle pattern. Like, they tell you one thing, but you can't find it anywhere. You just have to guess. So I'm just going to assume that you're going to sew this front, shoulder seam in the front until the dart starts somewhere like around here. So connect that with the back yoke. Let's see how it works. Sew the shoulder seams together. It's supposed to be seam number 2, although the marking is missing, up until the dart. I notch it where the dart goes. The next instruction says to cut the dart, the center of the dart. So the next instruction says stitch under collar the upper front edges from each seam number 3 to seam edge of dart. And thankfully I was able to find seam number 3 this time. In under collar you can see seam number 3, and in the front piece you can see this little tiny number. To focus. There we go. So that's what I did for the both sides, right side and left side. This is the under collar, and this is the front piece. Next is, okay, press seam allowances open, beginning at the center back, stitch under collar to neck edge, and continue stitching to stitch the dart as a continuous seam. Press collar attachment seam and dart open. Press ends of darts flat. Okay. I pinned the seams together as instructed, and this little notch in under collar should match the shoulder seams. The shoulder seams. Okay, now I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. I finished sewing the undercollar to the back yoke neckline all the way connected to the dart, and I pressed it open. I also graded some seams to avoid some bulk right here, also here. I'm gonna be sewing the upper front facing piece to the lower front facing piece, and both of them I added interface. So from here to here. Now I've sewn the upper front facing to lower front facing and press the seam allowances open. So after connecting the upper front facing into lower front facing, you connect the center back seam together of the facing. So I did that and I pressed, so it should go like this. No, this. Next you want to sew piece number 7, which is back facing, with interface on, to the one that you just sewed, the upper and lower front facing. So this is like a smiley face, right? Like smiley, like lips, mouth. Should go like this. It's kind of difficult to imagine what it will look like at the end, but I will pin up here all the way until here, and I will clip in and then sew these seams together. So here's the tricky part. After you sew this back facing to front facing, you sew until here, leaving 1.5 centimeters of seam allowance, and then you're gonna clip in here, cut here, then kind of have to pivot to sew this seam and this seam together. Slowly started looking like a coat, so I pinned all the facings down to the front and the back of the coat, matching the lapel. Well, after putting the facing and the front and back together, you clip in here where the lapels are, and then clip in diagonally here, like this, to avoid the bulk. No? Before turning the right side of the fabric outside, I press all the seams using this tailor's hand. I set my iron on medium heat. Just press the seam allowances open. After pressing the seams flat open, I turn the right side out, and using this pointy tool for the lapel to try to get the corners out all the way. I just want to. If you didn't clip the excess fabric before you turn, this part gets really bulky, so make sure to clip it diagonally. And then now we're gonna press it again. So using the steam iron, give it a really nice, good press. You know, because this fabric is wool mix, when you press it with the steam iron, it smells like an animal, you know, like it almost smells like you're at the zoo or something. And when my daughter comes in, she's like, what is this smell? This part is the back neck part, and I pinned together the seam allowances of the back yoke and where the, is it back facing? Yeah, seam allowances of back facing meets. This is going to be inside the coat, but you're going to sew the seam allowances together so that when you have a coat, this part is not loose, like it's not flopping around. Now is the time to sew sleeves, and I like these sleeves because these are not sit-in sleeves. I hate putting in sewing sleeves. I still can't really figure out how to do it like without being a pain in the neck. But this one, you just like sew it all the way around the armhole, and then this is the type where you sew the sleeves all the way down to the sides together. So I made the one sleeve already, and then I realized the sleeve length is a little bit too long for me, so I'm gonna cut, maybe shorten it by 2 centimeters. Just gonna cut it quick using this. So I find it helpful to turn the hem allowance up like for the sleeve before I sew all the way down there, the sleeve together, and all the way to front and back, because once it's in a rolled, shape, it's harder to use the ruler like this. So let's take the iron and press the seam allowances by 4 centimeters. And this way, once you sew the side seams, it's pretty easy, the rest of it. Now the sleeves are attached here. What I'm going to do is to sew the side seams, starting from here down there. But instead of starting from here, I start from right here for 2 reasons. One is so that it's easier for me to match these seams if I start from here and sew all the way down to hem, and then take it back to the sewing machine and start somewhere around here. So you're sewing it twice because this gets a lot of wear, so it's time to try on. Look at this. So this